I have a topic I would like to call out if nobody else has anything in particular that they would like to talk about.
Yeah, that sounds great. One thing we do, I think we should nail down at some point is maybe on a separate call is the process for getting people on the calendar or into the system. I mean,
Yeah.
It needs to be different than what it was this time.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I agree. As a quick update, because of my absence, Caleb, have you had a chance to spend any time, you and Scott, on the landing page for this mastermind group?
It's live. It's functional.
Okay.
That's last week.
Funnelflow.io/apply, or if you just go to funnelflow.io, it'll redirect to it.
Cool.
So just send them there.
All right. I can create the emails. I think it'd be good for us to at least have one email, kind of a master email, and we can just have it forward to our personal email addresses. That's an @funnelflow email. I think that would be helpful, and I'll pay the $5 or $6 a month it is to have that done. And then I think that would be a good way, and then it can have its own separate calendar. Look a little more professional too.
Yeah.
We're big time.
Big time, yeah.
Very nice.
Very nice. All right, so what's up?
Well, Billy, we have a very strict format Scott and I have hammered out.
Yeah, that's what I was going to dive into. Just tell me the format. Let's roll.
So the call is divided into 3 20-minute sections. The first 20 minutes is sharing.
Stop. Can you record this, Scott?
It's going.
Okay, go ahead, Caleb. Sorry.
First 20 minutes is sharing, just kind of like open format, potpourri. What's working, what's not, what's on my mind, burning questions. Next 20 minutes is learning, either a formatted topic or kind of springboarding off, the first part of the conversation. Like, oh, I was learning about this concept that applies to what you were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last 20 minutes is more the hot seat solving.
Yeah.
Let's figure out a problem together.
Love it.
Anyway, so what would you like to share, Billy?
Well, I think one of the things, either as a hot seat, which I don't think I'm ready for a hot seat to do it today, but as a learning, I think, Caleb, if you could spend a few minutes talking about the perfect webinar, just educate me as if I don't know anything, because yesterday when you suggested having the perfect webinar be the structure for how I present to U of O, that was pretty cool. I hadn't thought about it that way, and I had been struggling with how I'm going to present this deck. In fact, on Friday, I've got a meeting with a couple close friends of mine who are going to basically critique my presentation. And so if I can start to formulate the ideas and concepts around the perfect webinar, I think that could be a very good way to deliver the message. Because we're going up against some competition.
Sure.
On accident, I actually found out who one of the who is that?
I muted him.
Oh, thank you. On accident, I found out who one of the competition is or was. I'm not sure if they made it to the next round, but to the final round with us. But we have more experience in the actual work being requested, but their knowledge and foundation in the overall market is very impressive. And I know the owner of the company, and so it made me realize, okay, we're going up against some pretty impressive competition. So the fact that we're in the top 3 is awesome. But if if we don't deliver a good presentation, then it's obviously it's all over. So that's a long way of saying I think Caleb's idea was a very good idea, and I would like to incorporate the conceptual ideas of it. So
Of the perfect webinar.
yeah, as a in-person presentation method.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Russell says he calls it the perfect webinar because he kind of developed it, for online, but he realized it's really the perfect presentation. And he says that's a better title for it. The community had already adopted the name, so he just rolls with it. So it can certainly, the Russell Brunson 10X presentation, do you remember that one?
I do. Yeah.
That's a perfect webinar.
Okay.
So and he was able to close, I don't know, like 30% of the room or something stupid, and made $3 million. So the perfect webinar is all about what is the one thing you're trying to convince your listener about? Like, what's the one big domino that if you push that one down, all other objections will fall?
Mm-hmm.
And so what? Yeah. So that's the main.
That's the premise.
That's the premise. So
Okay.
the three.
So Caleb, is that
Hey, yeah.
teaching time?
Yeah, I was going to say, before you go too deep into that, let's continue with the roundtable updates. So, but that, anyways, just to kind of capitalize on myself there for a second, that's the big thing on my mind. We closed CCC, so we've got Clackamas Community now.
Nice.
For 3 months. It's my goal is that over the next 3 months, we basically build enough trust and value that they realize we're the better option than hiring somebody or doing something like that. And then what's good about that is that the guy from there on December 3rd, he goes out to Eastern Oregon University to start as director of marketing. So I should have a pretty good in there as well. So we're starting. Caleb cleared my mind or at least helped me straighten up a week ago or so, and I was getting really deflated and frustrated with just the time it was taking. And he reminded me that this new and improved vision, if you will, is only 4 months old, and I have to separate that from the length of the business itself. And so it made me realize, okay, after only 4 months of effort, we're actually doing pretty well. It's just the stresses of the rest of the business that are causing more issues, but I just need to, put on the gas. Everybody around me who knows what they're talking about is, encouraging me and still pushing me in the right direction, helping me. Like, I sat down with the former VP of marketing communications from Warner last night and ran him through some ideas, and he's like, "You're absolutely on board. I want to help you," that type of stuff. So we're doing the right things. It's just time, but it's only been 4 months, 5 months maybe now. So that's encouraging. So that's my update.
Good to hear the plans coming together. That's awesome.
It is. What I battle personally is like a mental game. I mean, as everybody, right? But it's like this. I'm not doing enough,
Mm-hmm.
I'm always not doing enough regardless, even if I'm not doing anything or if I'm doing everything, I'm not doing enough. Right. And a good close friend of mine, he's kind of an advisor as well. I'm starting to meet with him once a week, and he shared with me this article about the company Marmot, Marmot. They're like winter clothing, outdoor hiking and that type of stuff. And they were on the brink of disaster. In fact, they ended up selling to their employees just to save themselves from bankruptcy. And one of basically the punchline to the story is that in a small business environment, the best thing to do is to focus on one thing, and don't worry about anything else. Just focus on the one thing, and every decision, every distraction, everything should be focused on that one thing. And I'm still letting that sink in, but it's freeing to not worry about getting everything done, or like being this one dude who does 1,000 things. Like, that is just not possible. But if I can focus on one thing right now and get that done, then over time, that the cumulative effect of that is going to be really powerful.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Scott.
Hold on. What would you say your one thing is you're focusing on?
Still trying to figure some of that out, right? That's part of the process. But, and candidly, I mean, even he admitted, is like, it doesn't have to be a singular one thing. It can be like maybe 2 or 3 things, but the concept is you can only focus on a finite amount of things at a time and be able to give your all to it. So my primary 2 as of right now are appropriate KPIs and goals for my team, and then sales. 100% is just vision and sales for the business. That's probably the bigger one, but I need to keep the culture and the community in a good place, just to keep momentum, of course. So, but my primary number 1 thing is really leaning into my vision, not taking my foot off the gas, and just go at that, and really let my team take care of business. Like I've got my director of strategy, Brian. He's really stepping up right now. He's doing a lot of things on his own, and whether they're what I want or how I would want them done, I'm less concerned about, because something's being done, and so that's good. So it's kind of like, okay, I'm gonna go close business, and you're gonna service it. Just figure out those small things for me while I go and take care of this stuff. Not small, they're big
That's
things,
great.
but they're important things. Yeah. Scott, what say you?
Well, it's interesting coming off of that concept, because I'm a coach, so I'm working with different businesses. So I don't know, the things I'm about to talk about are more than one thing, but it's not my things, I guess. So I'll start with what my one thing is which is selling the Awaken Man Mastermind program.
Caleb, can you mute yourself, or is that you, Scott?
No, that's Caleb.
Okay. Muting.
Yeah. So what I've developed since that's an update to you, Billy, is kind of the big idea that I've gotten from Lord Brunson is turning products into offers. And so I relooked at the Awaken Man and Marriage Architects, and kind of created a few different offers for each one. And I think I might have shown that to you.
Yeah.
But when I'm selling, now somebody else is making back.
That's me. So it was just the alarm. It's done now.
When I'm selling the Awaken Man package, I've got a lot more clarity on the offer stack, and I'm where I was selling an $800 a month product. Now I'm selling an $800 a month offer that's worth $2,400. So
that's awesome.
Been helpful. Unfortunately, my issue is I've had a lull in sales, and now I'm stuck right back where I was before the launch of the first group. And I'm like, okay, crap, how am I going to pay rent? Amongst power and all that stuff. So the solution that I've known for that for over a year is I need downloadable products. I need courses. I need things that are consumable without my time, and lower price point that sells to the masses. So it's refocused my alert to that, and got some of that developed. The answer could be a sales funnel for sure. We've got an awesome sales funnel at Your Peaceful Marriage, but not driving the traffic to it. So it's like this constant battle of, I focus my time on selling high-end products or offers, but I need that baseline to smooth out the roller coaster ride. It's a problem that has a solution. It's just taking time. You know, like you were
Yeah.
saying, it just always feels like it's never enough. I'm never doing enough to get it there. But if you look over the course of time, it's progressed. So, you know, dang it, hard to complain, but it's painful in the process.
Right.
So that's my one focus. But then the things I want to bring to this group are, you know, I'm working with a couple of people, and I want to get them into this group. One of them is my mom, who I've been working with her to build her online course for dental professionals, and the estate planning attorney, who I think hopefully will be a member of this group at some point. And at some point, I'd like to bring them on, but at the least, I'm trying to help my mom kind of create a sales funnel for her dental course that she's developed. So that's all I've got to say right now.
There you go.
Well, that's certainly a lot of one things.
Caleb, what's up with you?
I just want to springboard off what you said real quick. You said something to the effect of your focus is driving sales. Brian's focus is servicing them. And I remember Russell said the quickest way to make $1 million is to have someone who can make it rain with traffic, have someone who could close them, and have someone who can service them. So, you know, he was speaking in terms of a high-end coaching, consulting type of business model, but I think your business model, you know, you guys provide a high-end service. And so you're the closer, Brian's a servicer, you just need a lead gen guy.
Well, isn't that funnel flow?
What?
For lead gen?
Funnel flow, right?
It can be, yeah.
I'm just thinking in terms of search logic. That's the part of the tripod you're missing. You know, you need the lead flow. You know, I know that's easier said than done, but
well, I have the team because they're the ones that are. You are right, because the team is the one that's doing my LinkedIn stuff, and I could engage them in actually setting appointments and stuff. I could engage them in that work. I think for a while it's just been kind of cost prohibitive, but yeah, you're not wrong. But the good news is that I have it available if I want to. Make sense.
Well, yeah. Do you guys have a simple? How do you capture a lead? Well, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, but like, we'll talk about that later. Just something to think about.
Yeah.
Okay, by the agenda, we're in the teaching time.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
You get excited?
Yeah, you know, Billy, we'll put you in the hot seat about your lead capturing process.
All right, cool.
So the perfect webinar. Okay. So I am holding the book Expert Secrets, and Expert Secrets is an in-depth expose on the perfect webinar, aka the perfect presentation. And the main goal of the perfect webinar is because you want your prospect to believe one thing that they didn't believe previously. If you try and get them to believe too many things, you're going to lose them and your conversions will suffer, right? So maybe your one thing is that you guys are the perfect PPC or lead, what's the word, demand generation firm for U of O. Like that's the one thing that you need them to believe. You know, you don't need them to believe that you're the most cost effective or the most whatever. You just need to make them believe that you are the best choice. And so the way so to get them, okay, here. The idea is to have a single point of belief that your message is built around and is emphasized over and over and over again from a variety of different angles. the big domino I mentioned earlier, that is the key thing they need to believe. The whole presentation is created to knock down that one domino, and that's it. The 3 secrets, like basically your 3 bullet points of the presentation that you're about to learn, are not new things you're trying to get them to believe. They are tools you're using to attack the domino from different angles. That is the key to the perfect webinar. When you understand this, you're ready to build out your presentation. So yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it totally does. I think it's just figuring out that. Plus, then I also have already given them a deck, and I can change the deck a little bit, but I also have to format that conversation to be in line with that, which I think I can do. I'm visualizing it right now.
Caleb, according
Yeah.
to the script, so I get it that there's one thing you want them to, it's almost to have an epiphany about, right? Like, I thought this was true, but actually this is true. You want them to have that epiphany, right?
Yeah, so you knock down the domino through a series of epiphany bridges.
Okay,
Stories.
so a lot of webinars or a lot of presentations are, here's the point I'm trying to make, and here's the 3 supporting points. Is that true in this format as well?
I mean, it's a support. So it's broken down into 3 sections in the content, and it's all trying to attack the one thing. So the first point, and he calls them secrets. You could call them, you don't necessarily have to call them secrets, but so whatever solution is you're selling, okay, like for me in the webinar I'm creating, it's how to create a 7-figure home services business using junk removal without buying an expensive franchise. Okay, so the one thing I want them to take away from the presentation is that if they want to blow up their home services company, it doesn't matter what company they are, that the key to do it is to use a low ticket offer like junk removal, where as a lead generation source. Right? That's the one thing I want them to go away with. Okay. And so the first secret is, I forget exactly what my title was, but basically in the first secret, I talk about how I discovered this one thing, how I had difficulty building a traditional home services business because I was buying every lead, and I basically, there was no profit after we performed the job, after I paid for the advertising, etc. You know, when it was all said and done, we acquired a customer, but really didn't acquire any profit, and our company sort of fell flat. But I had this epiphany that all the customers I was encountering, or a majority of them, had other home services needs that I could service or help them service. And that's where my profit was. So I started partnering with other junk removal companies, other home services companies to help service the homeowner's needs. So they were remodeling the house, they were redoing a kitchen, they need to demolish something. You know, once we're on the driveway, I realized that I just need to look around for opportunities. So that was my big epiphany, that we need the profits on the back end with the homeowner. And I realized that if I poured the gas on my junk removal company, I would have an unlimited flow of home services companies. So that was my big epiphany, that junk removal was the way to grow a home services company, because every single homeowner needs junk removal, right? So the idea is, on the first secret is, whatever thing you're selling, whatever he calls it, the vehicle. So the vehicle to achieve my dreams in building a home services company, junk removal is the vehicle, right? So the first secret validates your idea that whatever vehicle it is you're promoting is the way to accomplish your dreams. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
And then secret 2 and 3 are breaking false. The first one is about breaking internal beliefs, like I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I don't know how to do this. Breaking those false beliefs about the vehicle, like I don't know how to run a junk removal company. I've never started a successful company. I've never built a website. I've never, like it's internal. I don't know how, right? So there's a knowledge gap. So I tell an Epiphany Bridge story about how we didn't know either and how it's actually pretty simple. I tell some stories of how it's simple and how we were able to generate over 6 figures in less than 12 months with no experience. So if we can do it, you can too. So that breaks the false belief that they won't be able to do the junk removal company, right? They won't be able to build one. And then the third one is an external belief. So I don't have time. My wife won't let me. The economy sucks. Like things outside their control that prevent them from jumping on your vehicle. So external beliefs for me a potential external belief that I would have to break for a prospect would be I don't have time. I'm already running a construction company, or I'm already running a handyman company. How do you expect me to start this other company from scratch? And that's where I tell the Epiphany Bridge story of we were going out and quoting all these different jobs, and it was taking a lot of time. And I realized I could automate it through a sales funnel where people could self-bid, and I didn't have to, it would filter out 90% of the whole bidding for jobs process by creating a prepaid junk removal funnel. So you can automate the process. So all those are to support the one thing that junk removal is a source of free unlimited leads to the home services company, and a vehicle to create a 7-figure home services company. So I'm not trying to, so that's it. And obviously there's more formatting to that, but the one thing that he cautions people about, or one of the main things he cautions people about, is don't try and teach in the presentation. You don't, like the first rendition of my perfect webinar I was teaching people how we made over 6 figures in our first year. Like, step by step. We made the Thumbtack account. We made the Yelp account. We built this ad campaign. He's like, if you teach people how to do it, you satisfy their curiosity, and they're not compelled to purchase. They're like, well, you've given me enough to work on. I'm going to go try it and see what happens. But instead, if you just break their false belief that what they want is not possible, or make them believe that what they want is possible through your vehicle, that's more powerful and compels them to action. So,
say that again, please.
Okay. So in a presentation, when you're pitching somebody, you don't want to teach them how you're going to help them. You want to break the false belief that whatever it is you're offering can't help them. So whatever their false beliefs are around whatever it is you're selling, whether it's demand generation, like their false belief that you can't deliver for whatever reason, or they've been burned before by an agency, or you can't help fix their marriage. Like, your goal is not to say, well, here's how we fix your marriage. We take you through this class. We talk to you about communication. We talk to you about sex. That's teaching how you're doing it, right? That's giving them your study outline, which a lot of presentations kind of sound like. It's just an outline of what's coming up next. You have to break the false belief that you can't help them. And the way you do that is by sharing your own story of how you came to the conclusion that whatever it is you're offering is the only way to achieve what your desire was,
Right. That's I have just had like 3 at least epiphanies about my presentation. I'm curious, Billy, like how's that helped you so far at all? What's takeaways?
It definitely is helping. What I'm so obviously I understand the outline. The big question for me is I'm one of 3 agencies going down there, right? So they already have a belief that I have the capacity to do this for them. So what I have to understand is, what is their false belief? What is that one thing that they need to hear in order to believe or accept or acknowledge that we're the right one to help them do what they're trying to do? So for me, I just have to spend some time thinking about what that is for them.
I want to share something that just occurred to me as Caleb was explaining that. And I know you guys have heard my story, the relationship stuff. And I've made an attempt actually to do a perfect webinar and, you know, the Epiphany Bridge. I've been through those funnel scripts, but it wasn't until just now, I think I just saw the light, you know. And so I want to share what occurred for me. One, to bounce it off you and see what your thoughts are, but also maybe to bring more clarity to what Caleb was explaining. So, you know, and by the way, what one big epiphany is, I always want to teach. It's like I'm compelled to teach. So that's huge. Like, just like, here's how to do it. I just always want to go there. And the other thing is I have this, my story has always been, you know, where we had this rock bottom and, you know, kind of like where we came from. But what I just realized, the big epiphany that I had in my story was polarity. Because when Tanya and I were struggling, we had a lack of polarity, masculine, feminine polarity. And we were actually polarized the opposite way. Like, I was more in the feminine and she was more in the masculine, and that was creating a lot of unhappiness internally for both of us, and certainly not helping our marriage. And then when we had this, like, okay, the light bulb went on. Holy crap, we are operating in opposite you know, energies. And so we knew we had to flip that. We kind of understood the concept, but the big problem was we didn't have a freaking clue how. Like, we knew what the problem was, we just didn't know how to fix it. And so as Caleb was talking, I realized my kind of the 3 points is, I didn't know what the heck masculinity is really. Like, the culture that I've been brought up in, I was conformed to that culture. So it's a counterculture idea to really understand what masculinity is in today's world. So that was number one. What the heck is masculinity really? And then number two, how to live that out is what I found is it's a freaking bitch to live it out. Like, you have to give up so many of these other paradigms, but to live out masculinity is what, and as I've been coaching guys, I've found my mantra is, it's the hardest thing you're ever going to have to do to transform this, to change it. You're going to have to go against everything. You're going to face a shitstorm with your wife. So how to live it out, and then how to apply it into your relationship to create that polarity and see the passion and the sparks fly. Those are the 3 things that I teach guys, but I just never realized that until just now, like breaking it down. So what are your thoughts on that?
So the thing you're selling is the Awakened Man, which teaches men how to be masculine and walk that out on a daily basis. Is that correct?
And apply it to their relationship.
Okay, so that's the vehicle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your origin story plays in well to the first secret, which is, we can figure out the headline, but basically your first secret needs to give them the same epiphany that true masculinity needs to be found, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
They need to find true masculinity.
Yeah.
You're offering that in your course, but that's you realized in your despair that you needed to figure out what masculinity was because culture has failed you, right? Okay, so you've created this vehicle, this new thing, this opportunity swap, where the current opportunity of just going through life, watching movies, imitating Rambo isn't actual masculinity. That you have created this new thing that helps guide men in masculinity. So that your first epiphany bridge story is good. Now your second one is you need to help them with those internal false beliefs. So the internal false beliefs that the guys you're dealing with are that they don't, what would be some internal false beliefs? You said it, but kind of reiterate it.
Internal false beliefs, or if I'm too masculine, I'll be a jerk and nobody will like me.
Right. That would be good. There could be a few of them.
Mm-hmm. My wife, that will never work because my wife just wants, oh yes man, my wife wants help around the house. I try to help her. But
No, that's external. So that's you can't control what your wife does. So that's an external belief. So internal is I can't do it. I'm not good enough. I don't have what it takes.
It's too hard.
My dad failed. It's too difficult. I failed at everything else.
Yeah, those are all true. But the biggest one is that will never work. That's the pushback I always get. That'll never work. The only reason I'm doing it this way is because I have to. Like if I do it that way, it will never work. Like it's a big job convincing guys. I mean, you've been through it, Caleb. You were like, seriously, I do this and that's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like there's a huge disbelief until it's actually tested. Guys do not believe it's gonna work. So what is that? How do you internalize that?
Don't use broad terms. Like guys don't believe being masculine will define work. I don't know what you're.
That they stop doing everything to please other people. Stop being a people pleaser. Stop being a wife pleaser. Whatever.
I still feel like that's kind of external. Like,
yeah. Well, we're probably getting too much into the weeds for this purpose, but yeah.
No. Well, I think this is good. This is a good point. So it's hard to differentiate internal and external beliefs because I think they're subtle. But, you know, I guess an external belief could be generalized that if I start or stop doing this thing, this vehicle, external forces are going to prevent me from being successful, right? Mm-hmm. My wife, society, right?
Right.
So internal is more, can I do it? You know, do I have what it takes?
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't have a father. You know, I was raised by my mom. Like so I would see those more as internal. What type of objections do you hear in that regard?
Well, first of all, the main concept is you have to identify what the internal beliefs your audience has that aren't true or that you're challenging. Is that the idea?
Yeah, that's the idea.
Okay. So the internal beliefs that my audience has that aren't true is I need to be a nice guy.
There you go.
What else? Masculinity or being too masculine is a threat in today's world. It's not culturally acceptable.
That's external.
Ah, jeez.
You can't fix culture. Or
yeah, but that's the belief they have internally, right? the internal belief is I'm unacceptable. If I'm too masculine, I'm unacceptable. So I can't be who I really want to be. That's external or internal?
I don't know. I don't know if it's a hard and fast, but I feel like anything relating to culture, like to how people will perceive you or receive you, including your loved ones, is external.
Okay.
Internal, yeah. So I don't know, something to think about.
Yeah, let's table this so we can get to Billy's. We're into the problem solving time. Hot seat Billy.
Okay. So Billy, what does your presentation consist of now? Like, what is your approach to U of O?
A couple things that are coming to mind. Well, I mean, I can walk you through stage by stage, but the premise of what they're asking for is they are doing a year-long campaign in Phoenix, Arizona, to increase their out-of-state undergrad applications and admissions in 2020 and hopefully beyond that. One of the things that might be a belief or a thought that they have is that a paid media company like mine just knows paid media. And their job is limited to just driving traffic to your site to convert it. And then kind of the rest is yours. Whereas my philosophy, my approach from our learnings with B2B clients and in SaaS products in the demand generation world, that the student enrollment process is just another way of saying demand generation. And in order for a paid media company to be successful with a client, they need to understand all of the various processes and marketing touch points that are active within the campaigns as a whole, so that the paid media can support that, track that, and apply credit to it. And with that, then we begin to ask questions and have conversations that go beyond just paid media. We start talking about their direct mail campaigns. We talk about the recruiter that's on the ground in Phoenix. We talk about all of these external pieces that play into it. So maybe one belief that I need to convey the truth on is that it's imperative that your paid media company has a solid understanding of your student enrollment process in order to maximize our efforts and your dollars. Real quick, just to highlight the opposite. Are you guys still there? Because it got real quiet.
Yeah, I'm muted.
Oh, you're just on me. All right, cool. So just to give you a comparison to illustrate this point, and this is something that they would inherently know. For instance, that other agency that I accidentally found out was in the running, they, as a traditional marketing company, not even traditional, but more of a branding strategy company, they are very smart in overall strategy and marketing. They're very weak in paid media. The ask of University of Oregon is for paid media first, with the rest of it second. So it gives us a leg up on this other company because we're coming to the table with the expertise of what they're asking for and the benefit of the knowledge of the rest of it. Whereas most paid media agencies wouldn't be able to start having this conversation in the way that we are because they don't understand the overall process. Does that make sense?
Yeah, they're good. They're really good at one thing, but it's not the main ask of U of O.
Right. Right. And so we need to demonstrate that we are good enough in that other area, but that we're really good in the paid media area.
So that would be the one that would kind of be the domino, right? That you need to focus on.
I think so.
And then, not to cut you off, but in your offer stack, at the end, or however it's sprinkled in, but re-emphasized in your offer stack, you need to reinforce that you are also providing that stuff as well. But your main goal is to alleviate the fear, or provide the one thing that they're asking for.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So if you didn't know about this other company that's that the competition,
Mm-hmm.
It would seem that because you know about the other company, you're focused on the strength that you have in comparison, which is the paid media. But if you
Right.
didn't know about them, wouldn't your presentation, according to the outline that Caleb gave us, you want them to believe your offer can help them? Wouldn't it be that the point that they need to understand is that they need somebody that can handle the whole enchilada? They used to think that maybe they needed somebody that just that could be really good at paid media. Their thought process before your presentation is, we just need somebody that's really good at paid media. But what you want them to understand and believe now is, actually, you need someone who's really good at that, but who can handle all of this and sees how it all fits together. That's what we do. Nobody else does that. Is that true?
Yeah, I think that would be a correct statement.
So my thought is to not get too focused on the comparison of the other company and stick to that message that I've heard you articulate before. Because I think it's more powerful to say what you usually say and not get off track because you're aware of what the competition does. And feel free to push back on that, but that's just my thought that occurred to me.
Sorry, my internet started crapping out, but I'm back. Yeah, so Scott, to speak back to what you're saying is that maybe the false belief that they carry is that they are only looking for a paid media agency, but in reality, they need the best paid media agency, but they also need somebody who fully understands the entire process and can speak to it and can consult with it as well.
I think so.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah. Because, if you throw a whole bunch of traffic at the wrong nurturing and conversion process, everybody loses.
I think the message that false belief that everyone has is, I need this or I need that. What nobody else is saying to that marketplace is, what you really need is somebody who understands the whole picture, and actually that does exist. Like, I think that's two things, right? Like, overcoming the belief that, okay, yeah, I mean, it's an easy sell that it would be nice if somebody actually understood the whole thing and could kind of touch on all of that and see how it all fits together. That makes sense, right? It's a pretty easy sell, right? I get that right away. But there's nobody that could possibly do that I could afford. Like, that's only for those 50 million and up companies to afford. There's no way that's in my ballpark. And you're maybe that unique unicorn that fits that mold.
Yeah, I can see that too. That's good. That's a really good premise to start with.
Yeah. Russell talks about opportunity swaps. So you don't want to sell an improvement offer. So an improvement offer is where you come in and say, we're a really good demand generation company and we're going to outperform your previous one, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're like, that's not very exciting. That's like saying the way to lose weight is to go to the gym and work out. Nobody likes that. People know it's the truth, but it's not exciting. People don't jump on board to that, but an opportunity swap is, you think you need a demand generation or a PPC company. Well, that's true in a sense, but you need somebody who understands the whole enchilada, and PPC is just one part of that, right?
Yeah.
And we are that. So we are a new opportunity. We are a new paradigm. We are, we're not an improvement. We're a different pathway to get you everything that you desire.
Mm-hmm.
And here's why. And you go into your epiphany bridge of how you realize this through other client stories. You had generated 30,000 clicks to this company and their sales were flat, and you're like, why? Because you realize their lead nurture process sucked. That they, what I'm saying? So that's
yeah.
You can position your offer a lot better if you're an opportunity switch.
There's actually a live example that I could speak to is when we worked with the Rice University School of Business. We managed $30,000 a month for them, and they didn't renew their contract after the first year. And on their exit interview, we found out that basically all of the leads and traffic that we had driven to their site, nobody had followed up with. They literally just sat on a desk. And it was at that time that this thought process started to occur, was like, wait a minute, and this was early on, this was 5-6 years ago, that the thought process was, wait a minute, how can this happen at a university like Rice? That's absurd, right, to even consider. And so that began a very long journey of, okay, well, what actually does this mean? What does it look like? How can we be more value? How can we actually choose to work with universities that have this stuff in place to begin with? That type of thought process. So it really revolutionized where we went with that conversation.
You just told me an epiphany bridge. So
right.
You, yeah, exactly. That was the right format and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So,
way to go.
You had this desire. Yeah, you had this, or the client had this desire. You had this desire to make Rice University successful, and you guys did your part, right? You did what you knew to do, right? You burned through $360,000 worth of ad spend. So headline. Oh, never mind. So you burned through that much money in ad spend, only to find out that it was wasted money because nobody was following up. Nobody was following up. That was the wall. You're like, this is a major problem. How do we fix it? You had the epiphany that you need to be part of the whole process, not just the traffic generation. All right. Then you made a plan. And your plan was XYZ. How do we position ourselves in a way to, be part of this whole process? And that led you down this journey. And that at the end of the journey, you're going to climb a mountain, which is your transformation, your external. At the end of the journey, you were able to help other clients, with their end-to-end process. And the internal transformation is you guys have changed the way you think about traffic and demand generation. That it's really a holistic process. It's not just, we're not just here to drive traffic. Any idiot can drive traffic, but we need to help you the whole way through to prevent a Rice University story from happening to you.
Yeah.
So, that's a powerful story that illustrates your main point, that you your vehicle of this holistic demand generation solution end to end, everything from traffic to CRM to, you know, the admissions counselor needs to be congruent. That is the way to maximize your ad spend, not just, you know, saving a few dollars per click, right? Which a lot of companies will focus on, right?
Yeah.
So anyway.
That's good. That's good. That's going to give me a lot to work on. That's
yeah,
for sure.
Lots to work on. Always lots to work on.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a true statement. In our last 5 minutes, should we do some like closing remarks and stuff?
Yeah. Scott, go ahead. Takeaways from the today.
Well, I think that our format's working here, and I got a lot out of this. And that's all I can say. We got,
That's cool.
got another one wrapped in the can.
Yep. I would certainly echo that. Also, I like the fact that it's a perfect presentation, not a perfect webinar, because I was getting hung up on that. Like, okay, what's the conversion here? But then really walking through that process for my pitch, it's actually not just going to benefit this U of O pitch, it's going to benefit all of my pitches. And that's going to be pretty revolutionary. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Cool.
Cool. Well, I would recommend picking up Expert Secrets. And so the first half of the book is formatting of how do you create it, you know, the why. And well, and then the last half is more the how. And he takes you slide by slide, how to phrase it, how to transition, what story you need to insert here. Okay. And it's really a script, a template. So I've been doing my junk removal secrets webinar through it, you know, just slide by slide, and helping it guide my presentation. And I feel like I have a insanely more valuable pitch or proposition than where I started. Like, because my original hook was how we generated $135,000 of sales in junk removal, which is not bad, right? But that's not boat money. To how do you create a 7-figure home services company using junk removal without buying an expensive franchise? So that's because that was, and I only discovered that headline, that USP, if you will, through going through the perfect webinar and extracting what was my own epiphany of how did I mentally get to this point where I can talk about this with any sense of authority.
Right.
So going through the Expert Secret book and thinking it through in the context of my situation helped extract that. Okay. So
that's good.
There you go. And I got to go to work. J-O-B.
All right. J-O-B's.
Hey, guys.
Hey, good work, guys. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.